Well, once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Life Lessons. As you can tell, once again, I'm on the bike. It's cold. It's cold out here. I've got a heated jacket on. That's helping a little bit, but it's still pretty cold. But we're in the middle of a series. Actually, this will be the last in the series of 3 podcasts on Christmas. This is the week before Christmas, and I hope all of you have your Christmas shopping done, all ready to go. Christmas cantatas and pageants are all up and running and in gear. As we all look forward to that wonderful day next week when we get together with family and friends and celebrate Christmas. We have a tradition in our home, and if you don't have a tradition, I would invite you to start a tradition. But our tradition is that all the gifts, of course, get packed up on Christmas Eve, get wrapped up on Christmas Eve, and then on Christmas morning, whenever our family gathers together, and we've done this ever since our 2 sons were just little bitty guys. Before we open any gifts at all, the Christmas story is read, whether it's out of Luke or out of Matthew. The Christmas story is read, and what that does is that just we're gonna bring all kinds of opening up all kinds of gifts, and we're gonna have all kinds of enjoyment and fun and all that kind of stuff. But let's not forget the true meaning of Christmas, what Christmas is really all about. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So we read the scripture, and then we open, we have a word of prayer, and then we open the gifts. That's our tradition. I would encourage you, if you haven't already, it's never too late, start a tradition in your home that would involve just a brief reading of the Christmas story. It doesn't take long, 2, 3, 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes at the most, but let that be a tradition that you start this year. That's just a suggestion. So today I want to talk in our final podcast in this series. I want to talk about Emmanuel. Emmanuel. This comes out of Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, when Isaiah is prophesying concerning the coming Messiah. And he says, "Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. A virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and you will call his name Emmanuel." Now, that prophecy then was repeated over and over and over and over again, all the way down to the actual birth of Christ. So now we fast forward to the New Testament. In Matthew chapter 1, verse 23, Matthew cites that prophecy, Isaiah's prophecy, to affirm that this prophecy has now come true. The one true way to find out and to test whether a prophet is a true prophet is what they have prophesied comes true. Dates all the way back to the very beginning, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all the way back. Okay? You can test a prophet's validity by what they say. Now watch this. I can prophesy, okay, tomorrow it will be 70 degrees. Now, in the middle of December, or latter part of December, going into January, it could happen. It would be nice if that happened, but the likelihood of that, no. And so what happens if it doesn't? Then I'm a false prophet. Okay? Now, I'm not saying, let me quickly say, I'm not saying that the weather forecasters are false prophets. I'm not saying that. They go on the best scientific information they have at the time. That's just a little side note. I digress. So I want to talk about Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God with us. God with us. So when when Isaiah says that you will call him Emmanuel, he will be called Emmanuel, God with us. Now you jump up real quick to John, the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14, where John says the Word became flesh. There it is right there. John just says it a different way. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That was Emmanuel, God with us. Now, what does that really mean, Emmanuel, God with us? I mean, it can mean a lot of things. I want to talk about four things that it means. Four things. Number one, Emmanuel, God with us, talks about and signifies God's accessibility. Emmanuel, I think, underscores that God is accessible to all of us. Now watch this. I want you to hear me carefully. That we don't have to be in a church or a cathedral or anywhere like that in order to have access to God. No. The throne room, if I can put it that way, the throne room is open and accessible to everyone. Now I want you to think about the significance of that. Think about the significance of that. That you and I, created beings, have accessibility to an infinite God. A God who formed, fashioned, created, and sustains all of this that exists. Wow. If that doesn't humble you, I don't know what will. So Emmanuel says, it signifies to us that we have complete access to a God who is infinite. The finite has accessibility, complete accessibility to the infinite. Keep that in mind as you celebrate Christmas. Number two, Emmanuel also tells us about comfort in the midst of challenges. Knowing that this infinite God is with us at all times, God with us. The term actually means that God tabernacled with us. He comes to dwell with us. He's given us, to all believers, He's given us the Holy Spirit, and that's His presence with us always and forever. It gives us the comfort that He's with us no matter what we're going through, no matter how difficult the times are, no matter how stressful they might be. You may have had a very stressful, awful, horrendous 2024. But He's still with you. And He can teach you about Himself in those circumstances. So He brings us comfort. Jesus said that He would send, when He went away, when He ascended back to heaven, died and resurrected, goes back to heaven, says that He will send a comforter. That word comforter is the paraclete, or one who comes alongside to dwell with us. And Jesus says He will convict you of sin and convince you of righteousness. He will always be with you. So when times get hard, when times get seemingly unbearable, know that this Emmanuel is with us and with you constantly. Number three, Emmanuel speaks of a divine partnership. A divine partnership. Let me negotiate this little curve here. Interesting road. Divine partnership, number three. The concept that God is with us speaks to the fact that He, Emmanuel, is in partnership with us. He walks with us. He wants individuals, you and me. He wants us to actively engage with God on our journey, and He wants to be a part of that journey. He's not this transcendent far removed God that has created all this stuff and then just steps back away from it. No. Emmanuel means that he has become intimately involved in the ups and downs and ins and outs of your life and mine. So when you're dealing with hardship, you've got a partner. When you're dealing with joy, you've got a partner. When you're dealing with uncertainty, you've got a partner. In all of that, you and I have a partner. Okay. Now, let me just kind of give another example. So today I'm out riding, and I'm by myself. Viola would not. She would not ride. I mean, it has to be like 70 degrees and sunshiny for her to ride. she would not enjoy this ride at all. Okay, it would be cold, too cold for her. It's cold, but it'd be too cold for her. So, but it's more enjoyable when she's on board because we can talk together. You see this gizmo on the side of my helmet. Well, it's usually there. It's not there today. That we can talk back and forth, and it's a lot more fun when you have somebody with you on the journey, right? You can talk to them, you can share things with them, share experiences with them. Well, God is that kind of partner, right? He doesn't want us to walk through this life, this journey, on our own. He just doesn't. He wants to join us on our journey, and that means join us in the good times, in the bad times, in the stressful times, in the lonely times, in the celebrating times, in the heartache of times, in the joy of times, and in the mourning of times. He is our divine partner in all that we experience. Man, if you don't have anything else to celebrate this Christmas, you can celebrate that. That's something to celebrate. That's something that just ought to give you a different perspective on Christmas as a whole. So we've talked about God. Emmanuel means that God is accessible, that He comforts us in challenging times. He's with us as a divine partner. And then fourth and finally, that Emmanuel means that there's hope in the midst of despair. During this time of year, and I've talked about this in other podcasts, but during this time of year, between Thanksgiving and the first of the year, suicides spike. I've seen that for years. It spikes. People get more lonely, become more isolated. If they're far away from family, or if they have no family, around, they experience very difficult times, and they end up, having what I refer to as tunnel vision. That there's no hope. Everybody's celebrating. They can't go to the store and get groceries because there's Christmas music. Maybe they've had a death of a child, and that horrendous experience, and so they don't experience joy. They don't want anything to do with joy, and so they're at a point of despair. And so there's usually a spike, not only in depression, but depression that leads to horribly, sometimes people taking their own life. So He offers hope. It's not an empty hope, all right? It's not an empty hope. It is a hope that, excuse me, it's a hope that gives reassurance that no matter what our circumstances are, God is present with us, that He is actively involved with us, and that while today may seem horrible to you, there is yet a tomorrow. And so my encouragement to you would be to invite that God who is ever present to join you in your journey through the good times, the bad times, the horrible times, the other times, the beautiful times, the lonely times, the times of despair. That no matter what your circumstance may be currently, that you would join Him in that journey, and that you and He would be partners in that journey. Okay? So now that really brings to close this 3-part series on Christmas and the lessons of Christmas. And I want you to think about that over this next week as you plan and prepare and cook and bake and all the things that you do to get ready, putting up the Christmas tree, putting up decorations, wrapping presents, shopping, all the stuff that you do. I want you to think about that Emmanuel is with us. God is truly, truly with us. God bless you. Merry Christmas. Thanks for riding along with me. Thanks for joining me on this journey as we talk about and have talked about Christmas. God bless you. Merry Christmas. I hope you and your family have the best Christmas ever. God bless you. Thanks for watching.